What is up, everybody? Brian Mendler back in your life on this Monday, October 21st, 2019. And I'm super pumped today to be joined by my good friend from Kentucky, correct? Are you in Bowling Green? Where are you exactly?
That's right, Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Bowling Green, Kentucky, my man, Eric Wilson. Eric, it's good to have you.
Hey, thanks. It's great for having me today.
Alternative school principal in Bowling Green that I met. How many years ago did I meet you? It was probably a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, been a couple years ago. You came, did an administrator training first in the summertime with just our principals, and then you came back and did an opening day for the entire district. And then we had you back one other time. You came and visited some individual schools, and we had you come over to our alternative school and meet with the kids.
And I got to tell you, that was to this day one of the highlights of my entire career. That day at your school, because I got to do an impromptu thing with the kids. I didn't really. It was not planned. There was no like going in. This is what you're gonna do. It was. I was kind of wandering the building with some of your teachers, and I was interacting with kids. And then you kind of pulled me aside, and you were like, you know what? Can I just put these guys all in one room and have you do something? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And it was pretty special, wasn't it?
It was because the original idea was for you to go around and just meet with the teachers, and the kids were not involved. And we're like, hey, our kids need to hear this. We got the alternative kids. They're here for a reason. They were sent to us for all kinds of different reasons. We thought, what better to have you here to talk to the kids and deliver the message yourself. And it worked out great.
It was so great getting to meet the kids. And when you get to talk to these kids and you realize where a lot of them come from and the lives that they've lived, they, for me at least, they end up becoming an inspiration. It goes from, I think a lot of people view really challenging kids, especially in alternative settings, as a challenge or difficult or disruptive, or they were unmotivated somewhere else. And I'm not saying that those things weren't true. They probably were. But when you realize the lives and the homes that some of these kids in 12 years of their life have been through more than I have in 43, and so it's I love what you guys are doing over there. So how long have you been doing this job? What's your how long you been there?
Yeah, this is my sixth year here at the alternative school. Prior to that, this is my 28th year overall in education. I started out as a high school biology teacher and coach back in Tennessee and coached girls basketball and girls softball. And then from there, we moved to Bowling Green, Kentucky in 1992. My wife's a professor at Western Kentucky University. So I told her when she finished her PhD, I said, you know what, I can find a teaching job anywhere. I said, so we'll go where you want to go with your university. So it's either, let's see, Norwich, Vermont or Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Huh.
And we picked Bowling Green over Norwich, Vermont. I think we're going to be an hour south of Montreal, and that was a little too far north for me. So we settled on Bowling Green. That's only 2.5 hours from our hometown. So it worked out pretty good for us.
Yeah. And so when you got to Bowling Green, what were you doing? Were you teaching yet, or that was where you started it all?
Yeah, we moved in. The semester had already started, so I ended up subbing for half a year, different locations, and I wound up subbing at Warren Central High School. Really liked it over there, and job came open at January of that year, so I took that and was there for 15 years, and then moved in 2010 to Warren Elementary School. So I went from high school my entire year to assistant principal at an elementary school, Warren Elementary School, one of the highest ESL populations, one of the highest poverty
Hmm.
schools in the district. So that was quite an experience.
How many kids?
We had around 900 at the time in that
And you were
school,
you were principal of that school?
assistant principal.
Assistant.
hmm And then stayed there 4 years. Really loved it. I wasn't sure how I was going to like elementary level after being in high school for so many years, but really enjoyed the little kids. So that was a great
What did
experience.
you
And
love
then
most about it? What did you love most about it?
just interacting with them. I'd go in and read books to the kindergarten, first grade class. Just that interaction, dealing with the kids too. And there we had a lot of issues as far as the parents involved. We had a lot of social service cases, a lot of those kind of abuse cases and things in the district that would show up there, and we'd have to take care of that. So it was every day something going on, just with that type
How
of
do you how do-
clientele.
how do you take care of that? How does what is the what do you how is that done?
We just try to get social services involved when anything comes in. We try to get the kids to talk to us, tell us what's going on, and sometimes it's tough, and it's hard to get in those situations and know what exactly to do to get the help they need. And I can remember, well, I'll tell you this one story this year. I had a girl that was a third grader with us who we knew some stuff was going on in the class, and she had a sister in the fourth grade. And we knew things are going on. And it's so hard to get the information to turn it over to social services. We'd make the call, they would come in, wouldn't take the case. We'd call again. Finally, they took the case and found out there was some abuse going on there in the home, and they removed those kids into foster care, got them out, got them cleaned up. They were great. And last school year, this girl showed up in my school um, to come to Lighthouse Academy, and she ended up graduating last year. And I haven't seen her
Wow.
since fourth grade. So she came to me, got her
Wow.
graduated, and now she's moved on, but doing
So how
well.
do you know that? How do you know that when you say we knew some things are going on at home? So how, if I'm a teacher and I'm working in a school or I'm a
Mhm.
new administrator, what are the signs that I look for when you say you kind of knew?
Yeah, you see the kids, they act out a little bit in different ways. I mean, it's just one of those things where they may come in with some bruises or something. They say they won't tell you exactly what happened. They'll say, "Oh, I fell," or something like that, or just come in and they haven't had a bath in a couple of days. Their clothes
Yeah.
wearing the same clothes over and over again, and you try to call the parents, and the parents aren't responding. They won't return your phone calls. It's hard to get in touch with them. So you kind of put two and two together though and think, something's just not quite right. And we try to talk to the kids and let them give us something where we can call and just hope that social services will take it. Now they won't take it every time because they're flooded too. They're so busy. They're hard. It's hard for them to take every case. But we keep on and on and on until finally we get something done. And if there's nothing going on, then that's fine. If it's something else, then that's okay. At least we know that we've done the right
Yeah.
thing and tried to help.
Everything that you can do in your part, which is not always a lot. I mean, it's not always a lot. And I remember the debate with certain kids because certain kids know, well, what's going to happen. You're going to call social services and they're going to put me in foster care, and they didn't want that. I had
No,
kids who didn't want that, and so they were like, I'll just take what I'm getting at home and keep my mouth shut and not say anything, which was the hardest ones for me because who am I to tell them which
right.
world is better? I don't know. I don't come from that realm. So crazy. So you worked at the elementary for 4 years. Then where'd you go from there?
From there, I went to Lighthouse Academy, to Jackson Academy, the
Okay.
summertime there.
So explain what those are. When you say
Yeah,
Lighthouse Jackson
sure.
Academy, what are those?
We're one of the different unique schools in the state. We have punitive and non-punitive programs in our building. We have actually 4 different programs within our building. We have an alternative suspension program, which is ran by a couple of teachers there that we serve all high schools and middle schools in the district. So instead of suspension, they'll send them to our building from anywhere from 3 to 10 days. So the kid gets into a fight, breaks some kind of major board violation, they'll come to us instead of being suspended out. The work is sent from the home school, and we just manage that, like I said, from anywhere from 3 to 10 days. We serve about a little over 300 kids a year who runs through that program through the different schools. And then we have Jackson Academy, and Jackson Academy this year, we've added elementary school. So now we serve 3 through 12th grade in that program. When you were there, we only had middle school and high school, but we added elementary this past year. So we serve 20, I think it's 26 schools overall, 3rd through 12th grade. So they send them to us, and these are the kids that have to come through either a pre-board hearing or a packet from the school. If they've tried everything at school and nothing's working, they ran through all the interventions and not having a lot of luck with the kid, they'll send us a packet and we'll take the kid through that way. They're with us a minimum of 30 days and can be anywhere from 90 to 120 to the rest of the year. It just depends on what they need. So that's a punitive program. They're in dress code. They have to wear a uniform to school, uniform, khaki pants and a shirt with a collar on it tucked into the belt. I mean, not a typical uniform what you think of, but and then we have day treatment as well in our building. Day
What
treatment
about
is,
shoes? Can they wear any shoes they want?
yeah, they can wear shoes. They can't wear the slides or the flip flops or anything like that. They can wear just regular tennis shoes.
Or sneakers? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sneakers are fine. We have day treatment also in our building. That's the Department of Juvenile Justice program. Those are the court order kids. They come to us through the judge. A judge is the only one that can place a kid in day treatment. And Anthony Young is a program director of that in the building. They're there 6 to 9 months, and they go to school pretty much year round. They go in the
So these
summertime as
guys are
well.
also part of Jackson. This is also part of that program.
It's all part of the Lighthouse Building program. We do have kids that sometimes will go through the different programs. If a kid is in Jackson Academy and gets in trouble in the community as well as in school, then he could wind up in the DJJ program through his community involvement. So they
Okay.
can wind up that way. Or if a kid graduates from day treatment, they've been successful in the program, then they can go to our 4th program, which is Lighthouse Academy. And it's non-punitive. We only serve 10 through 12th grade, And those are the kids that can come to us. They can graduate early. They can accelerate. We run the
Can
Apex
I just gotta
program.
stop you for
Yeah.
a second. What do you mean by punitive versus non-punitive? Explain what you mean specifically by that.
Yeah, in the punitive program, they have to be there for some type of discipline reason or break a board violation. So if they get in trouble, um, bring a BB gun to school, get
Okay.
into several fights, then a specific board event place them in our program. Where
Got
in
it.
non-punitive, it has to be elective. They have to apply. They go through an application process. We interview them with the parents, and they have to be selected. So I always tell the kids, you're placed in Jackson Academy and day treatment and ASP. You're accepted into Lighthouse Academy. So those are the
Why do
difference.
they call it punitive though? I don't understand why they call it punitive. Because for me, so I'm sitting here thinking, but your intention when they get there isn't to punish them, correct?
That's true, but they are they have to follow the dress code. Their world, every second of their world, their day is accounted for. So it's more of,
It's
they
more of like
call
a
it
boot
that, but
camp type
yeah, but
mentality.
we don't run it that way.
Yeah,
It is a punitive program in I
that's
guess,
the name.
by definition, but not
I
in
gotcha.
reality.
I gotcha.
So then when they come to Lighthouse with us, they can, like I said, graduate early, and then we try to find them jobs. A lot of our kids, to be honest, they're not college material. They want to come in, they want a diploma so they can go out and get a job. In our area there's so many open jobs in manufacturing that we can place them pretty much instantly. We've been told through the Kentucky Workforce Board here that there's over 6,000 open jobs in our region, and they just need a high school diploma. So these are the kids that have come in that just want a diploma, want a job, they want a little bit of training in HVAC, or they want truck to get their CDL and drive a truck.
So that's what you mean by a job. You don't mean
Mhm.
go to McDonald's. You mean like a
No,
trade type
a
program.
career, yes. We'll get them
I love
training,
that.
and we work through the Kentucky board, the workforce board, and they'll actually pay for some of the training. They'll pay to get their CDL training. They'll pay for them to go to technical school and get mechanic certification or an HVAC certification, and then they'll place them after that. So we're really excited about having that opportunity to get the kids
So
through.
is that part of your program? Like, is part of your program them getting training while they're at your school, or while they like, are you moving toward that? How is that interacted while they're a student in the school?
Yeah, we're
Is that
making that part of our
after they
program. Right,
graduate?
we're making that. We'll bring them in before they graduate. They'll come in. The Kentucky Workforce Board will come in and they'll go through some job skills. They'll do some resume building. They'll do interview skills with the kids before they graduate, and then once they do, then they can help them. It is They do have to qualify either needs-based or income-based, something along those lines, to get into the program, which 90% of our kids qualify that way. So
Yeah.
that's not a problem for us. But then they will come in beforehand and work with them, and then once they graduate, they'll go down to their office and then start the paperwork process and see what they can do to help them out.
What kind of do you see so how does it work when kids get so here's my thought. My thought is kids come in, there's I'm thinking number one problem with the first program is you said your goal is to get them back to the school. I've learned some of these kids don't want to go back to the school. They
No,
come to an alternative school and they're like, this is the spot for me. I mean, there's 5 kids in my class. I can concentrate better. I don't have to worry about all the peer pressure around me. Like there's a lot of good that comes. So how do you guys, first of all, do you see that? Let me ask
we
that.
do.
And then what do you do when you see that?
Yeah, we see that a lot. We see the kids will go back and they'll try to sabotage to come back to us because they do like
Interesting.
it and they are successful. And we recognize that. So what we've done this year is we've also done something new. We call it Excellence Academy. And now if a student wants to stay, they have the opportunity to stay with
I
us.
love that.
In the past, for our fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, even eighth grade, there was nowhere for them to go. If they were a junior, sophomore, senior, we could get them into Lighthouse Academy and transition that way through the program, not have to send them back. But for that middle school kid, there was nothing for them. So we decided to have an Excellence Academy. And this way, we don't accelerate those kids. We keep them on track with their home school. So as far as whatever school they come to us, we have some schools that are on 7-period days, some that are on block. So they're all mixed up. So we have to keep that student on track with the school that they would be going to, because with this program, every 90 days they can reevaluate, and if they want to go back to their school, they have that opportunity. So it's a parent decision. Along with the school, we sit down and talk about what's working well, what's not working well, And if they want to go back and they earn that right, they can do that because they have served their time that they were sent there for, the 30 days,
Sure.
the 60 days, whatever.
Sure.
So if they want to stay, they can, but they're not bound to that. So if they want to experience the
What
school,
percentage do you think want to stay? I'm just curious, like overall. I would
no,
guess. So my guess, don't tell me. So if I had a guess,
mhm,
I really don't know. I'm just trying to think of kids that I taught. So I
mhm.
would guess probably 40 to 50% would want to stay, and the probably 60 to 50 would want to go in that range.
I'd say it's a little higher. I mean, it's more like 70-30, I think,
Wow,
that
70
we're
want to
seeing.
stay.
70 want to stay.
Wow. I mean,
We've had a
because you know,
couple this time.
going back to the school is a strong pull, though, too. I mean, for a lot of kids, like just getting around the, getting back to the other kids, not feeling like you're in a, quote unquote special ed school. That's always a
Mhm.
big thing. So they always, that definitely, but I've seen both sides of it for sure.
Yeah, we've had two make that decision this year to go, or this quarter. This semester just ended a couple of days ago. So we had two decide to go back. And I really think the only reason they decided to go back, and one of them was an eighth grader that stayed with us last year. So now he was going to be into ninth grade. So he has never been to high school yet. So here we are in October. So he's been August through October in our program and has not been to high school. So he's wondering what high school is all about. So he's going to go back and give it a try. And then we had another girl who is going from elementary school into middle school for the first time. So she's not sure what middle school is all about, and they want to go back and give it a try. So they're going back here in a couple of weeks to start at their school, not ever been in that school before. But we do tell them also, if you get there and you don't like it, you're starting to have some issues, before you get in trouble, give us a call. You're welcome to come back.
Do you do any work with them? Do any of the teachers do any work with the kids, like when they know they're going back, like any role playing on things that might happen in the classroom, like and or something they might see or deal with when they go
Yeah, the
back?
biggest thing, sure, the biggest thing for us, we found in school is the drama. I mean, kids always talk about the drama of school, and that's the one thing that they fear the most. And it's where their kids, if somebody looks at you the wrong way, they're thinking somebody's talking about them, or somebody whispers something, they're always talking about them. And then they'll have that confrontation and it'll lead to a fight or something like that. So that's the biggest thing that their fear is, how are they going to be accepted by their peers when they go back?
Yeah.
So we talk about those relationships and how to build those relationships, and then also how to just not worry about it. They're not always talking about you, and they're not, if they look at you, they're not
Right.
always going to do that. So that's the biggest thing, is get them to understand that everything's not really about them, and it's more about
Right.
the situation, and
Right.
just go
And
on about your
also,
day.
I always felt like it was about really teaching kids that if when you engage in that battle, you lose. Like you are the loser by engaging. Engaging makes you, even if you win the fight, you lost because you engaged. And his whole goal, or her whole goal, was to get you to engage. That was what she was
Hmm.
trying to do. So you were the bait and she was throwing the hook. And the minute you bit, whether you got loose or not or whatever else happened, you bit that bait, and you don't want to bite, right? And I often found that by using winning and losing as the words, like with kids, where I would
Hmm.
say you win or you are going to lose. The minute you fight, you lose. They could often see it as different, but kids are so impulsive that it's tough. And in the moment when the crowd's around and other kids are there, and oh, you're gonna let him say that about you,
Yeah,
oh
that's right.
dang, and that pressure comes on you. And I find, like, when I see teachers that take time to actually really practice scenarios that they might, like, role play it and get the kids worked up in the class, like, it's dangerous kind of to do that, but man, it's so powerful, and but it's not an easy thing for these kids to do.
It's not. And one other thing that we do, we also have the transition meeting with the school that they're going back to. So we'll bring the guidance counselor, maybe an assistant principal administrator, back into our building and meet with everybody, even the student and their parents, before they go back. And we try to place that, we found that one person in the school that they're going back to be their go-to person. So we have them build that relationship so they know they can trust that person, that if I do have these issues, I can go to you and you're going to take care of it for me and everything will be okay. I don't have to respond to everything on a just a reaction with those situations you're talking about. Somebody comes up and says something to me, instead of responding right then, I can go share that with the person that I trust in the building, and you can help me out. So we try to build those relationships between those two people before they go back. So once they go back to that school, they have them there, and then they can go and talk to that person and try to help. But then we tell them if it gets too much and you don't like it, because we know you're going back from a school, you got what 30 kids in our building, and you're going back to a school with 800 or 900. Come on back. We'll be happy to take you back. But I always tell them before you get into that fight, we
Right.
don't want you to come back because of the fight or anything like
Right.
that. If you feel that coming on, give us a call. We'll take care of you before that happens. So
I
we're
think
waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, I think the other gap that has to be bridged too to make it successful would be the gap between the kid going back and some of the teachers that are receiving those kids coming back. Because if you put those same kids back with some of those same people, you're going to get some of those same results you got. I mean, everybody needs training, like kids need to be trained on what to do, but so do the adults. Like some of these adults in some of these schools that are constantly getting offended or constantly getting annoyed, or that kid walks in and they're heightened. Everything's heightened because, well, that's him, and he was at that school. And like when you start engaging in that as a teacher in the regular school, it becomes so dangerous for the kid because then the kid's got no rope and or no slack. And so the smallest thing sometimes that kid does, because they're watching for it, like they're literally looking for it, all of a sudden that blows up into a huge deal. And as you know, with a lot of these kids, they're so volatile, like that they can go from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds, so it's critical that if I see that, like that there's the gasoline, I have to keep the match way away from it. And I think that's an important lesson to teach some of those other teachers.
It is. I mean, we look at that too because we have their discipline record, and sometimes we'll see that, a kid has 14 or 15 referrals and 9 or 10 of them be at the same teacher.
That's
And there's
amazing.
something going on. I mean, we know there's something, there's some kind of conflict there. So we will recommend and work
Yeah,
with the
let's say
counselor.
what's going on. The adult's the
Yeah,
problem. Like, let's say
yeah,
the truth,
exactly.
which is what. Look, that's not a secret. I mean, if there's four, I mean, just do the math. What the math better than me. The research says I think it's 90% of referrals are written by 10% of teachers.
That's right.
That's
And we see
crazy.
that. So, and then we'll recommend, hey, it wouldn't be a good idea to put that kid back in that class. Let's try a different teacher. And a lot of times, they will, and that'll be avoided. And it doesn't make sense because you look at it, in the most part, they're great in school. They make good grades in some of the classes, but then you have those teachers that will, I think once they have them in their crosshairs there, they won't let up. And that's we've seen that, for a long time, as you have those groups of teachers that will just not let up.
And it's sad. It's sad that they
It
won't
is.
let up. It's
It is.
sad because the
And that's
truth
one of the things.
is,
Yeah.
it makes their life better. Like it makes your life better as a teacher when that kid is on your side versus against you. It makes everything that you do on a daily basis better. So selfishly, right? Okay, forget the kid even. Okay, let's argue you don't want to give the kid a break. Fine. But give your paychecks the same. Like
Hmm.
why would you want your job to be harder? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it does. And, not only with behavior too, we're seeing it with grades because, we're able to work one-on-one with a lot of these kids and help their grades out because academically they struggle as well. But we're finding out too, I mean, some of these kids don't have a chance. And I've been teaching, just like I said, my 28th year, and I've never been one of those to give zeros for homework. I just never have. I mean, the least I would give would be a 50. I don't care if you turned it or not. You're going to get a 50 in the grade book. Because some of these kids mathematically don't have a chance when we get them to even pass the class. It's like, what are we going to do to help these kids when mathematically we can't do anything about it? So, that's another thing we see is we see teachers that will just stick them with grades that are tough, and the kid then doesn't have any hope. They know they're not that, you know, not in tune that they don't know that I have no chance to pass this class. So why am I going to give it an effort for? I can't pass the class, so I'm just going to act up and be a disruption and make your life miserable as a teacher because I can't pass the class and I'm stuck here for the next 6 weeks in your class for an hour. So I'm going to
Correct.
make your life miserable. But if
Correct.
they have a way to know, hey, you know what, maybe I can do this, because sometimes the light clicks on and they do want to give it an effort. And if they have a chance of passing, I think you're going to get a little better effort out of them if they do have hope or see that hope that they can pass that class.
In my workshop, I say early in the morning that I believe the single most important thing that you guys can, I say to the teachers, the single most important thing that you all can give kids this year is hope. There's nothing more, like
Hmm.
love is close, love, caring, all those things are
Hmm.
close, but without hope, you have nothing. And it's H before R. Hope comes before responsibility. Kids are never going to be responsible until they believe there's a chance to be successful. You have to, success and confidence and competence are a cycle. And like, you know, I tell people, think of a clock, like, but instead of the numbers, you have at the, where the 12 would be, you have the word success, because that's where everyone's trying to get to. Where the 4 would be, you have the word confidence, and where the 8 would be, you have the word competence. And then I tell them, think about a ball that spins between those 3 words, because in life, those 3 words are breeders of each other. They breed each other.
Mm-hmm.
Success breeds confidence. Once you start to become confident, you start to become more competent, which makes you have more success. And it's this really cool cycle. Well, some kids have never tasted success. They don't know what it is. And like, if you never knew what that was, then you're never going to get to the confidence or competence stages. And so, but what's good about this for a teacher, I think, is that we can control this. Like you said, I never gave a kid below a 50%. That's it. Like, or like for me, there were times where I would just say, for, you know, tonight, here's the test. I was going to give you guys a unit test, but here's the test. 4 questions. Questions 1 and 2, what are the best 2 things about me as a teacher? Questions 3 and 4, what are 2 things about me as a teacher that if you could press a button on me and change any 2 things, what would they be and why? And that would be it. That would be the whole test. And the whole goal was to get kids 100. I just want to get kids feeling strong about my subject, having something to lose versus always chasing something. And that's the problem when you have kids that are constantly failing.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of second chances too. If a kid wants to take the test over, let him take it over. What's it going to hurt? I mean, I'm glad I got to take my driving test over. I wouldn't have a license right now. Or the ACT. I mean, if I had only one time the ACT, oh my goodness, yeah, that'd have been a mess. But second chances, we all have second chances. Adults have second chances and things. So, you know, if a kid wants to make an effort to come back and say, hey, can I take that test over? Sure, take it over. That'd be fine. But then we have some teachers say, no, that's the grade you got. You're going to get it, and let's move on.
When I think about it, really, the truth is second chances have been in everything that I've been successful with in my life. Like, right, if anything that you become successful in, you must have failed at multiple times before you become successful at it, because you have to keep going through something to get better at it. So it's basically everything in life, which it's just amazing. And you know, success should, or failure, that's why really failure in school should be seen as a positive thing. It shouldn't, like, the only thing people should care about are attitude and effort, not scores. Like, if you stop caring about the actual score and you start caring about just how hard the kid works, what type of energy does he give you, and instead of making it like a school thing, you make it a life thing. It's like, I don't care whether you're taking this test or you're wiping a table at McDonald's, do it right. Do it in a high level way. Try to be the best at whatever you're trying to do. And when you can instill that into the minds of these kids, some of them are so smart and they're so calculated and they've got the system figured out, and you can really influence them, I think. That's why I loved working in schools like yours. It was the best.
Yeah, that's what we're finding that out. I mean, we got the luxury of being able to find their sweet spot when they come to us as far as academically, because we can try different things. I've got a great staff there at Jackson Academy, and they work hard with that. And they truly try to find what works best for that kid. You know, we do the Apex system there. It's a computer program, and not all kids can do that. So we'll do something different with them. We'll bring out the book work. Some kids come to us in different reading levels. You know, we'll have juniors and seniors that come to us on a 2nd and 3rd grade reading level. Well, it really doesn't make sense to try to give them a junior or senior level material. Let's go back and try to find what works for them. And like you said, when they do that and they find success working in that program, then the light switch goes on and they're like, hey, I can do this. And then you'll get a lot more work. And then with the work becomes the behavior correction. And they'll learn to do that and make that switch. And then they can make that decision again. If they were successful with us, stay with us, or let's go back and give it a try. But we try to fill their toolbox. That's one of the things that, you know, I got a great, you know, Leslie Miller, my coordinator at Jackson Academy. She's awesome. And she tells them she gives them a toolbox, or not physically, but it says, here's your toolbox, but I'm going to give you the tools to put in your toolbox. When you go back to school, use those tools and you'll be successful when you go back to your home school. And that's been good for us.
I'm going to have her on an episode in the future of my podcast, because she's one of the most special people I've ever met, let alone teachers. Like, she's one of those people that some people in life have the ability to walk in a room and make everybody feel like they're the special one in the room all at the same time. And that's what she does. She just lights up a room, and she's just amazing with those kids. I mean, just from what I saw, I didn't see that much, but and the other thing we did I don't know if you remember this, a few years ago when I was teaching a class at it was at a college where I live. It wasn't college people. and I had your students be a part of that. We actually Skyped in with you
Yeah, we
guys.
Skyped in. That's
And
right.
yeah, it was awesome. My
Hmm.
students were asking your actual students, the kids in
Yes.
the school, questions. It was
Oh
fascinating.
yeah,
And
they
she was
asked.
she
Yeah, they wouldn't know
facilitated
when we're going
that.
to do it again.
Yes, I know, I know. I would
But
love to
no,
do it
Leslie.
again. I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
get, I'm not teaching that class anymore. My schedule's crazy like that. It doesn't, I never, so that was this thing local, which I love local
Hmm.
work. It was the best. And it was 1 to 3 in the afternoon, like 3 afternoons. And the lady who hired me, this is what happened. She left. She went somewhere else and somebody new came in. And so that was that for that. That's how my life goes.
No, that's great. And I was able to get Leslie. I mean, I worked with when I was at Warren Elementary. Leslie was in student assistance for the district. She was a district student assistance counselor. So we worked together with some of those cases. And when I got the job at the alternative school, I thought, man, if I could get her in with me, that'd be awesome. I never did tell her that, but I think secretly she was thinking too, if I could ever get over there, I'd love to do that. So we didn't really communicate that to each other, but the opportunity came, and I was able to get her over to the building. And she's there because she wants to be. That's the thing about my staff. All my staff want to be in alternative education, and that makes a big difference. I mean, they left other jobs to come to this program, and that makes a difference in how they treat the kids and how they do, and they're successful because of that.
Have you seen that in your career? Have you had people who didn't want to be there?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, in the past, our building traditionally, sometimes several years ago, has been kind of like the dumping ground, if you want to say. And this was before. I mean, this was probably 10 or 15 years ago when I first started. Lighthouse just began, and if you were a teacher that had tenure, but you really couldn't cut it in the classroom, they would put you down in the alternative building just to be down there. So that was one of the things I said when I took over, is that I don't want to have anybody placed in my building because they can't do their job in a classroom. So I've been able to hire who we wanted, and that made all the difference in the world. Because that was one of the things we had before. Jackson Academy was basically just a holding tank for 45 days. There was not anything really going on. The kids were just down there. There's no really structure to the program. And then when I took that job, that was one of my missions that I was told from the central office, is to make this an intervention, not just a holding tank, but make it an intervention, make it worthwhile.
Make
So
it a
if they're going to be
school,
down
darn
there,
it.
yeah, exactly. So it's like, I couldn't understand it because I was going around
Right.
the first 6 years ago, and even in the lighthouse where the kids are there because they want to be there. I was walking into the classrooms and kids were sleeping and things. I was like, why are kids sleeping for? They said, well, they've done all they can do because they're on a schedule. They could only work so much. There's 6 hours. They don't change classes. They're in the same classroom on a computer working on their schoolwork, but they only had so much they could do. And once they did that, they were through. They were kind of locked out for the day. So these overachievers students would get there in the morning and bust it, and then by 11:30, they were done for the day. So they had nothing to do until the bell rang. And I said, why are we holding them back? If they have the ability to move forward, let's move them forward. So it's able to get that policy changed, and now they can accelerate and they can work all day.
There was like a policy in place
Mhm.
holding them back.
Yeah, they can only do so much, and they were kind of structuring that to where you can only do so much work a day. And when
Isn't
you,
it maddening for you
yeah,
when you see stuff like
oh
this? Is
my
why I
God,
couldn't do that job. I could never do that job
yeah.
because I would walk in and be like, "How stupid are you guys? Like, are you guys really that clueless? Like, and you can't do that, or you get in trouble." That's why I love my job because
Hmm.
I can go
Yeah.
in a place, stir everything up, and then leave real fast. Kind of sneak out the back door. Right.
Well, my fortune, I had an assistant superintendent who I was really good friends with. I was actually her assistant principal at Warren Central, and then she moved to the central office and became assistant superintendent. And she was able to make those changes happen because she was the one that really wanted me to go into that
Yeah. Is
position.
that
And then
Melissa
said,
you're
"What do
talking
you need?"
about?
That's Kathy Goff was her
Uh,
name.
okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Kathy
remember her
Goff.
too.
Yeah.
Kathy Glenn. She became superintendent, didn't she?
She did interim superintendent for a little while, yes,
Interim.
and
Yeah.
then she retired. But she was the one that kind of pushed me into the alternative world, and then helped me get things the way they should be in that program to where it is true intervention.
And
And then
then
yeah,
once you got
Melissa's
in
there.
that world, you never wanted to leave it, right? Because
No,
it's
not
the
at all,
best,
not
isn't
at
it?
all. Yeah, and now Melissa Stefanski is now the assistant superintendent that took over that. So she's over alternative programs now, and she's been great too to give us
Of
whatever we need.
course.
It's
She's
like
a
here,
special ed
what?
girl.
That's right. And
It's
then
always good
she's
to have
actually,
special ed people at the top of the chain because they get it. You never have to explain anything to
yeah,
them. They're always looking out for it. It's like having one
and
of your
actually.
own in the mafia right at the top,
Oh,
right?
sure. And then the good thing about that too is before she became or got into administration, even a principal at the elementary school, she was at the ASP program down at Jackson Academy. So she was in that program before, so she kind of knows what that's like. So that's been great having somebody that's been through that program to now be in charge and to know what it's really like in alternative education. Because some people don't have a clue what it's, what alternative education is really about. And we try to come down there and change lives. And one of the big things we do too is, I won't tell Leslie, I won't tell my staff the background of the kids. I don't want that bias to come in when a new kid comes in, because we'll have those packets and I go through all the packets and I'll look at everything that child has done. It's like, oh my goodness, they're really a mess. But I don't tell my staff that because I don't want them to have that preconceived thing of this kid's a bad kid. And sometimes they do surprise us. I had one last year who a teacher in another district said this is the worst kid he's had in 28 years of education. And he was our best student. Never gave us one day of trouble. Great
Where did it
kid.
say that? So it says that somewhere on like some like I don't even, so I'm the teacher. Was never an administrator. So how does that all work? You get a packet that comes in with the kid?
Yeah, we get a packet that has their previous school, has their grades, have their attendance, their discipline chart, or records, discipline records, and things like that. But this was a handwritten note on it, and it says, "This is the
Like
worst kid
an
I've had in
envelope
28
back.
years." It's like, oh my, a handwritten note. It's like, really? You're going to write that down? And so I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm thinking, what are we getting here? Because this is a
Yeah,
kid that came from another district. I thought, man, I'm glad my SRO's in the building today. So this,
yeah.
this is going to get fun. But never had a bit of trouble. So that right there taught me not to look at the paper and judge a kid by what's written down,
What do you think
because
that
you
was
never
though?
know.
So what do you think that was? I mean, when you say never had a bit of trouble, I hear you because I know those. I'm
Yeah.
with you, but I mean, again, right? It goes back to I want to meet who wrote that. Like, first of all, if you're
Yeah. Yeah.
writing that, you have to look in the mirror if you're writing that. Like while you're writing that, you got to look in the mirror and be like, all right, I got to be at least part of this problem, at least part of it. Like to have someone
hmm
be the worst in my 28 years. Is that what you said? 28 years?
28 years, yes,
28
worst kid it
years.
ever had.
What a
And
distinction to get for the kid. Maybe he'll
it
do
really.
my job someday and he can have that like on his wall as a plaque.
And then I told the kid later after he was with us for a while, I said, you're not the same kid that, went through this program. 'Cause he admitted he had a lot of trouble. And part of it was no structure in the school he came from. They didn't have to do things. The rules didn't apply some days, and some days they did apply. And that's another thing too. We hate kids getting in trouble for things they don't know what they're getting in trouble for. It's like have those guys, a kid in our building, if they get in trouble, they know exactly why they got in trouble. In some schools, some places, kid will get in trouble. They have no clue why they got in trouble. We'll
That's a
ask them,
great
why
point.
did you, why did you get in trouble? I have no idea. So we make sure they know that. And this kid he talked about that at his old school, that things happened that he didn't know why he got in trouble. Some days it was okay. The next day the teacher was not in a good mood and it wasn't okay, and he'd get a discipline referral. Just drove him crazy. And he responded that way. And so when he came to us, and I told him at the end, I said, you're not that kid that I saw that packet, 28 pages of discipline records. And I thought, you're not that kid. And he said, no, and I'm really not. He said, what I like here is a structure. And I said, but I never told anybody your background. And he couldn't believe it. I said, what? You mean you didn't tell anybody how I was? I said, no. I said, because you're not that. And he was able to transfer over to the Lighthouse portion of the program and graduate and get a diploma and move on and get a job. He's working in a factory. It's a factory work, but like I said, that for him, that's all he needs. I mean, that for these kids that sometimes struggle, and McDonald's is good for a little while, but then you gotta have a career. So we're looking at getting them placed into a career, and hopefully that'll change their life for the better, and they can
And
they can
and
have it
and
better
re-
than their parents.
and really for me, the other thing that you're doing is you're leaving them with in their life a positive experience in school. And I think that alone is so important because there's so many people I know who have gone back to school later in their life and become unbelievably successful. I'm one of those people who went back
Mhm.
later in my life. I went to for my master's, and I was not an education person right out of college, and I went back for my master's when I was like 26 years old or whatever it was. And I mean, I thought it was later in life. It's all relative to where you are at that time, but in my mind it was later in life. But when you go back and your mindset is school's a better place, like I'm choosing to be here, I want to be a part of this, and you realize and you get into the world. And I say this for challenging students all the time. I think the real world is a lot easier than school for a lot of them. Like the
Hmm.
real world sort of opens up to you. If you can get through school, you can decide, I want to go back to school, but I only want to learn about this, or I only want to learn about that. Like you can just go and learn about cooking, or you can just go and learn about, the one thing that you love and just get great at that one thing. And that's what's cool about the world. To be successful in life, you only have to be great at one thing, right? I mean, when's the last time you went to the dentist and said, tell me about the War of 1812 before I open my mouth? Like,
Yeah.
I don't care what else you know how to do. Just clean my teeth and do it right. Right. And so
Yeah.
if that kid's working in that factory, and even if that's what he's doing, but maybe subconsciously he starts to think someday, you know what, maybe I will take a class at the community college because school's
Hmm.
not that bad. I don't hate school. School and I don't have a bad connotation anymore. And I think that piece of it is underrated,
Yeah,
for a lot of
it is.
people in the world.
And you've seen that trend. I mean, in the past, it's always been college, college, college. We've been ingraining these kids, what are you going to do when you get out of high school? I'm going to college, going to college. Well, it's not for everybody. And college ready was a big push. And now we're seeing a shortage in electricians and a shortage in HVAC guys and a shortage in mechanics because everybody's been pushed, go to college, go to college. And for our kids, hopefully, like you said, that may come down the road or not even maybe college, but that technical degree, that 2-year degree or that training, just going back to school, that's still school. I mean, if you're going back and taking classes at night and you're only working 6 months, or going to be a nurse assistant, nursing assistant, is we have a school here in Bowling Green that does a lot of training in that area. So these kids, we just get them in that direction and say, you know what, you have that opportunity for school later, but if we can get you out, get your diploma, and then you can decide, because you know how it is. 18-year-olds, they're not really, even though you're out of school, you're not sure what you really want to do yet. And then you may do something else and find out, you know what, this factory is really not what I had in mind. I don't like this. Then I got the motivation to go back to school and get something better. And
Dude,
my dad did that for me.
I'm 43 years old, and I'm evolving every day. I mean, if you would have told me, 2 years ago that in 2 years you will have a podcast and it will be growing like crazy, and you'll be, like people would be listening all over the world to you, I would have been like, what are you talking about? Like, what even is that? Like, I feel like that's the key to life. The key to success in life is not knowing what you want to do a lot of times, and always being fluid to what's there and seeing what's in front of you and being open to opportunities, and being, we talk about in addiction recovery, being honest, open-minded, and willing. Those are like the 3 words in recovery: honest, open-minded, willing. And I feel like those have been so important in my life. The
Mhm.
open-minded and the willing are 2 things that I struggled with a lot in my life. I was a person who, it was my way or the highway. Like I had to learn everything the hard way in my life. And when I became, open-minded to learning from other people and really growing in that realm, and then willing to change, like make a willingness to decide that I wanted to get better. That's when good things started to happen for me. And everybody has that inside of them. Like anybody who's listening to this, if even a kid who's struggling in school and they're like, I don't, you do have control over your life. You can control how hard you work, like control that. Go in there, make every teacher in that school love you, make it where
Mhm.
they can't get enough of you. Wine and dine them. Be a sales rep to the teacher. Like, compliment us. Tell us how great we are, and teachers will love you. Teachers in general are great people. We want to help kids. That's our fundamentally why we're there, right? It's just some kids make it so hard to help them because of the what they do in certain moments.
Yeah, and that's that's the thing we do with our kids, and it's great because we try to give them some skills that will help them when they go back to their home school or they go back or graduate in life. We have a great partnership with Emmanuel Daycare, which is just down the road from us. So any special events, holidays, we got one coming up here with Halloween. We'll bring the kids over, and they're 2 to 5 years old, and they'll come into our building, and then our Jackson Academy kids will do the face paint, they'll do the Halloween with them, and we pair them up with those little kids, and to watch some of the kids that have been in trouble for most of their career in high school or in middle school to interact with those little kids, it helps out. And then we do things. We got one
That's
coming up at
powerful.
Christmas.
Powerful.
Oh yeah, it's great. We do a lesson on want and need, and then we have a partner who gives us a little bit of money at Christmas time. So we'll pair our Jackson Academy kids up, and they have to pick, or that we pick the partner for them, and they interview each other and talk about wants and needs. And then we take them to Walmart and they have to buy for each other. And they have to buy so many wants and they get to buy, or so many needs and then one want. And then it's neat to see how thoughtful they are about picking out something that they think that other student would like. And these are students they don't even know. And they are
Yeah.
so cautious about going that and picking something out that's going to be great for them. And then they'll bring it back to the building. They'll wrap it up, and then right the day before Christmas break, we'll get
Right.
together and they'll open everything up. So
And
it's
it's
amazing to see
what
that.
I think would be really fascinating about that activity is, you know, you could do that in different socioeconomic areas and see the difference in want and need. You know, like my kids, my spoiled children will tell you, and I love them more than anything, but we're spoiled. I'm not gonna lie a little bit. And
Mhm.
you know, they would tell you air conditioning is a need. It is not a
Yeah,
want. Let's be clear about that. You
yeah,
know, like I mean, so certain people are like food. That's my need. Where you know other people are like mac and cheese. That's my need. Well, wait, is
mhm.
it or is any food your need? Right? Like crazy. That's
And we
awesome.
have that, and that's the thing that our four high schools, we have two of the high schools that are more the affluent schools, and two that are kind of the, not so much. So we do have that socioeconomic difference between the kids, and that'll happen some. We'll get kids from our schools like that, and our schools that are kind of the city school type, those kids, and to see those two come together, and like I said, that's happened before, and it's been great to see that, because some of these, like, you don't have that, or you don't do that, or you don't get that. It's like, no, I mean, we don't know where the next meal is coming from, and
Yeah.
so it's opened some kids' eyes that
It
maybe
opened
have
all
not
your
seen
eyes.
that. It
It's
does.
opening my eyes right now. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about how I fly. Because for me, like first class right now is a need. It's not a want, but
Yeah.
technically it's really a want, but it's not. Like in my mind, I'm like,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not doing this date if I'm sitting in coach that whole flight. My legs are too long for that. But really, it's it's all relative in life, isn't it?
And it is, and it goes back, and and they can see that in academic success, a little bit of behavior success. Like I said, once you've tasted first class, you don't want to go back. So these kids, once they taste a little bit of success in academics or behavior, they don't want to go back either.
That's right.
So hopefully that'll help them to continue and to make a difference and change, and then turn it around when they go back. And we hate to see repeats coming to us, but that does happen. But sometimes things get out of control and they can't avoid it. And, they get into a fight or something will bring them back. And, they knew better, but it's like, I not,
Yeah,
could not withhold it this time. I had to let it happen.
I hear
So
you.
we'll see that every now and then.
Listen, before we wrap up, I wasn't sure how to bring it up. I haven't had a chance to talk to you since your daughter passed away
Yeah.
and face to face. I've texted with you. And I thought about leading with it today and bringing it up. And I would have if it naturally came up. It didn't.
Sure.
But I get emotional when I think about it. So you're one of three people in my life who has lost a child that I'm
Mhm.
close with, that I feel close with. One
Yeah.
I'm very close with is a personal trainer. I see her every week. You're number two on my list of people, and then there's a third. Her name is Tara, who lost her daughter. She was pregnant the same time my wife was pregnant with my
Mhm.
son. They were pregnant at the same time. Her daughter ended up having cancer when she was like 6 months old and she passed away. And I have two children of my own, and I can't
Mhm.
comprehend what the loss of a child would be like.
Yeah.
And I want you to know, man, that I'm sorry for this. And I feel for you.
Thank
And I am devastated for you. And I know you're stronger probably than a lot of people are around you, because I got text from you saying God is good. And,
you. Mhm.
I know she's in a better place. And that said, I hug my daughter tighter. I want you to
Yes.
know that she didn't die in vain, because I think of you guys when in my life, when with my kids, when I'm annoyed at them or frustrated with them about something ridiculous, and I think how you would give anything in your life to have be annoyed or frustrated at your kid again, probably. And so,
Yes.
um,
Yeah, I faced that because I've wanted to grab a couple of parents since January. Just give you a little background. We were an education family. Like I said, my wife's a professor at Western Kentucky University, and my daughter, she was a ESL teacher in elementary school. She taught 2 years of high school English, and then this past year went to an elementary school, Jennings Creek Elementary, as an ESL teacher for third grade, and really found her calling there and loved it. And then in January, just see 9 months ago now, she was a passenger in a car, and then got kind of T-boned right in the passenger side door, and then she was killed instantly that Sunday afternoon. So yeah, it's been tough, but you're right. I do want to grab these parents and say, you know what? I'd give anything to be in your shoes, to be able to have her back right now. And you're doing this to your kids. It's all I can do sometimes, not to just jump in and say, man, you just don't know. And but you're right. I mean, God has been good. We've been surrounded by really good friends. Our church community's been real good to us. Without the faith, I don't know, it'd be hard to get up every day.
So
But
Casey was starting her second year teaching?
she was in her third year. She was
Her
halfway
third year
through her third
teaching.
year. She was 2 years at high school English, and then this half a year because it happened January 13th, so we'd just come back from Christmas break, and we'd been there about 3 or 4 days when it happened.
Where were
Um,
you where were you?
when it happened, we were at home.
So you
Um,
were home. Where was she
we were home.
going? What was
She
what was
was
happening?
she was with a friend, and she was going to her best friend's birthday party. They were going to O'Charlie's to meet, and then car hydroplane somehow. It was in town, which is weird because nobody, no accidents happen on this little street in town. It's kind of like, speed limit's only 45. And it's like, how does this happen? But somehow the car she was in hydroplaned and then turned right to left into oncoming traffic, and a car is a 4 lane. So went across the 2 lanes, and then in the passenger door, and a car hit right then. So, we do take comfort in knowing it was instant. So she didn't suffer. It was one of those things. And it says that our days are numbered, and we're here for a purpose and a reason. And, we believe that. And like I said before, we know she's in a better place, and then we just hold on to that and know that someday we'll see her again. And but she had an impact on those kids, and we really didn't realize what kind of impact she had until we had her funeral, and the teachers that came by that she worked with, and the students at her high school. She worked at Caverna High School, and which is in a couple of counties up. And all those kids came back that she had as freshmen and sophomores, came back to the funeral, and they had a little candlelight vigil for her up there at Caverna High School, and that was nice for them to do that. And then we've actually started a scholarship here at Western Kentucky for those students. So we've got a scholarship that we're going to be able to pass that along to a senior this year to go to Western Kentucky
Oh,
University in
cool.
her
In her
honor.
name. Oh, that's
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah. So, but it's been tough. But like I said, every day's a new day, and we just focus on it. But it has helped me to really know or not know, but to, I guess, to share what's important in life, and that's to treat your kids like you want to be treated. I mean, like they're your own, and that's how I do. Every kid that comes to Jackson Academy, I treat them like my own. And I've told that story a couple of times to some of the kids there that are struggling. It's like, you know what? And they said, I don't want to go home, or I don't want to do this, or I said, but you got to. This is what it's about, and this is going to be better. And if you don't like your situation now, then make it better. Make it better through making better grades and putting yourself in a better position to do something with your life, or to clean up your behavior so where you can be successful and go on and do good things. And so it's changed things. And my staff's been great, helping me get through this, because like I said, it happened right after Christmas break. So
Yeah.
I took about a week off. I'm one, I can't take a whole lot of time off. I mean, my wife she took a little bit more time, but I took about 5 days off, and we had the Martin Luther King break, and I came back that Tuesday. But my staff's been great about handling things. So I was, gone for the week, and they've been good, just to keep me focused on, what's important there at school.
I was on an airplane, and
Mm,
Leslie texted me, and
yeah. Mm, yeah.
I
I
was
know.
broken for you, man, broken.
And then and then I
My daughter's my whole world.
oh yeah. Yeah, I got, like I said, son. She was 26. So she was 26 when this happened. I got a son who's
My
21.
son's my son's a half part of my world too, but he's not my daughter.
Oh,
As
I
much
know.
as I
Yeah,
love him, you know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, and yeah. So he was at Middle Tennessee State when it happened. So he wanted to come home, but we talked him into staying there. It's better because what he's going to do at home? There's nothing for him to leave school and to come back. So he stayed, toughed it out
How's he
down there.
doing?
He's doing good, doing really good. He's got a little girlfriend down there that they're, I don't know, maybe getting pretty serious, who knows, but
All right.
she was able to to get him through that, because he was able to go to her house. She lives there in the same town, so he had her parents there that were really supportive and was able to help out. And it's like he had an extra set of parents in Murfreesboro to go to and not to be alone. So that really helped during that time. But no, he's doing great. He's like I said, he's a hockey player. He plays for Middle Tennessee State. So we're traveling now every weekend and watching him play hockey. So that kind of takes our mind off things too. But yeah, I mean, I know that happened because
Yeah,
I can remember that you were involved in a little fender bender right after that happened
it
on the
was.
interstate there, and I know you made a comment about that and how quickly things can change.
Oh, dude,
And
it was more than that. I mean, it was I got drilled by an 18 wheeler. I mean, I walked away, not one
mhm,
inch, nothing wrong, but it was
yeah,
I had just put my seatbelt on, literally just put my seatbelt on, and we
mm,
got banged
yeah,
from behind, and I went flying forward, and it caught me. The seatbelt caught me, threw me back in the seat, and then I got out of the car. It was, but it is. It's just everything in life it just puts into perspective what actually matters in life. And
it does.
I'm gonna guess that you're gonna go through your life now with a whole different perspective on the world and on
It does.
what
Hmm.
actually matters versus doesn't matter, right?
Right, and you find that these things that sometimes are, really they're insignificant when you think about the big picture. It's irrelevant, and these little things of getting mad about these little bitty things. That's why I'm saying you're just like, your daughter's room's not clean or something. I mean, come on, does it really matter that much? Um, just take care of them. All you can do is love them, give them what they need, and then just hang on tight because it can change. It can change in a second, and never thought anything like this would happen, but man, it it just jumps up and it can get you and hit you hard.
Well, I want you to know that today after school, I'm picking my daughter up today at 2:30 from school. I'm gonna get emotional. And we're gonna go to the golf course and we're gonna hit a couple balls into the pond. She likes to hit balls in the pond. We're gonna hit a couple in honor of you and your daughter. And I'm thinking you because I know you're an avid golfer like I am. And it's my daughter and me at the golf course is my most special time in my life. Now
Well,
she
you
loves
say
golf.
that. Yeah.
I'm emotional. I'm sorry.
Well, you say that, and I tell you, I had the fortunate, or the, I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, but Casey was a golfer too, and she played high school golf, and I was her golf coach. And she played for 3 years, and that was some of the best times, but also some of the most frustrating times was to have a father and a daughter out there on the golf course, and her, playing golf and competing in matches, and me wanting her to hit every shot perfect, and to do that, and of course she could care less where the ball went. She was out there having a
Right.
good time and just would have a good time and not worry about her score. But yeah,
Which is
we had
what it
some
should be.
frustrating times. But I go back and look at that and think, you know what? Yeah, I'm glad that was able to do that. So yeah, being on the golf course is special. So enjoy those
It is.
times.
It is. Well, listen, man, it was an honor to have you on here. You're an inspiration. I love what you guys are doing there. I love the people there. You guys have some of the best people in your district. Melissa, Lori, who's one of my favorite people, the principal there. She's at which school is she at? Lori Morris. She's great.
Yeah,
I know her on social media.
she is. I'm trying to think because I got so many principals.
Elementary. She's
Yeah, she's
elementary
elementary.
principal.
She's an
Yeah.
elementary principal.
But she's
She's
one
at.
of those people. She's one of those people who lives it, who breathes it, who
Oh
just
yeah.
you can feel it. The job exudes. It's what she was born to do. And I feel like you guys have a lot of those people in place where you are. I'm sure there's a lot that aren't, but I've come across when I think about who do I want to have on my podcast, the
Hmm.
little small your area, there's about 5 of them that I could bring on.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is pretty cool. So
Yeah, we
I
got a
appreciate
great
everything,
group.
man.
Yeah, we
You
got a
too.
great group of administrators. We had a little bit of turnover this year. I think we have 8 or 9 new principals to the district this year, and all of those have come in and doing a great job. So,
Yeah.
we're a big district, but we're kind of small and a family-like atmosphere too, and that's great.
It's all about the people. It's all about the people.
It
People over
is.
product. People. If everyone's got to focus on people, and people make everything good or everything bad. So focus on your people. All right, man. Listen, I appreciate everything. It was great catching up with you. Great seeing you. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
And I will see you soon. Sound good?
Yeah, it sounds great. Can't
All
wait
right.
for you to get back in this area, and like I
I
said,
know.
we'll bring you golf clubs, and we'll get out on the golf course
I know.
ourselves here soon.
I want to go to. Let's go play Pebble Beach, man. We got to go play
Oh
Pebble.
yeah.
That's the one I want to play. You've played that a few times, right?
I have. It is definitely special. Yeah, it's nothing like it in the world, I tell you.
I got to get out there. I'll probably put about 30 balls into that water though. I
Oh,
mean,
it's all right. It's
that's
worth it.
part of it. It's part of
It's
it.
worth it. Yeah.
It's worth it. All right, listen, guys, everybody else, thank you so much for being a part of our podcast. We are right now in the top 8% of downloads on iTunes. So thank you guys, man. People are loving it, and I appreciate you subscribing and rating and telling your friends. You guys, administrators are out there, please get your teachers on board with this, get them listening, talk about it at staff meetings. If you guys want me to bring somebody on, if there's somebody that you know that you think would make a great guest, let me know. Message me on social media. I love hearing your questions. Everybody, thank you guys. I don't even know where I'm going to be next week. I can't keep it all straight, but it's next week. I think it's 4 cities next week. So I'll see you guys then. Until next week, I say peace. I'm out of here.